So far in this course, we have discussed about variables and literals, which actually the specify the place in which we can store some value, and by literal we mean the actual value. We have also looked at a function called type. Given the name of the variable or the name of the literal or value, type can actually return the data type of that value or variable or the basically the literal. So the simple data types that we have discussed so far are integers, floats, complex. These three we discussed as part of the numerical literals. And we have also discussed about string. Today's discussion will be starting with compound data type. Particularly, we'll be starting with list in today's class. And there are also other compound data types in Python like tuple, set, and dictionary, which will be discussed later on. So to define a compound data type, first we need to define what is a sequence or a sequence data type, or in simple word, simply a sequence. So it is a simple generic term used for indicating data types that can hold multiple items of data. So up to the last class, we have discussed strings. So basic thing is, string is already a sequence data type. That is, in string, we are storing individual values in individual position in an array-like scenario like this. This is also a sequence in Python. But note that it is a simple data type. The compound data type is a data type that comprises of smaller pieces of simple or compound data type. Now note that when we have discussed strings, all the individual entities were also strings. As we have shown, if I declare a variable, a simple program, let's see. S equals to say like this, hello. Then type of S is hello, right? Sorry, type of S is string. Also, S0 is H, and if I check the type of S0, it will also be string. That is, here, all the individual entities or the data that I am referring to here or item is also of type string, right? But for compound data type, the smaller pieces of items or the data that we are storing can be simple data type, can be compound data type, and can also be a mixture. That is, a compound data type can contain a string, a numerical value, together with a dictionary as well. Now, what is dictionary? We'll be discussing that later. But for the time being, dictionary is a type of compound data type. As I said a couple of minutes back, there are 4 types of compound data types in Python: lists, tuples, sets, and dictionaries. Today we will be starting with list, which is an ordered and changeable data type. Now, why we need a list? So let's consider a scenario. Let's consider we want to store the email ID, the marks, the roll number, together with some other information like names as well for all the students, for example, who are enrolled in this CS3102 course. So how to store them? First of all, let's look at a small program where we have the email ID. Can we extract only the roll number from it? So as we know, as we have seen, that the email IDs in ISER, in our institute ISER, they are actually given following some manner. Like the roll number will be like this. It will be containing 7 characters. The first two will be specifying the year in which you are enrolling or the student is enrolling. The second and the third and fourth character will be specifying in what course the student is enrolled in, and the last 3 characters will be specifying the serial number, and the corresponding email ID will be the initials of the student's first name, middle name, and last name. If the student is not having any middle name, it will be only the initial of first name and last name, and then the roll number at the rate of iserpol.ac.in. Now, given this information, number from it. Let's try to do that. I have written the same email ID here. So if I print email, so this is the email ID that is stored in this variable. Now I want to extract this. Note that it is 7 characters. So we all know that there will be 2 parts. One is this name, I mean initials of names together with the roll number, and the second part will be the domain name. In our case, in ISER Kolkata's case, it is iserpol.ac.in. And here the separating character is basically this this at the rate of. Now we are interested in the first part. So how to get that first part? Can anyone suggest how to get this part only from email? We have discussed this during the discussion on strings.
So str third bracket 0 to
Okay, so third bracket 0 to
not 0 because we are not trying to print AKS. So
no, I mean
string.
I for the time being I want to extract this part including a case.
Oh, okay, then it is how many characters are there? 7, 10, 0 to 10.
10 characters, but as I have said, your name cannot, I mean, it might be the case that you do not have a middle name. In that case, there will be 2 characters. In that case, it will be 9, right? So essentially, what you are saying is this will be basically printing. So 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So this will be printing AKS 16 MS 0 to 3. But what if you do not have, or the student does not have a middle name? In that case, it should be 9, right? An easier way to extract this is by using the split function. How? Dot split. Then the splitting character will be the at the rate of sign. Now, as I said, this will be returning a list. What is a list? We'll be discussing from today. So this is, as you can see, it is actually breaking up, or it is actually cutting the whole string into 2 parts, as there is only one presence of this at the rate. And the first part and second parts are stored as 2 different items in this list. Note that this is a list. We will be discussing what is list in a short while. Now, from this list, I want to extract the first part. So to extract the first part, I just need to provide this. This will be returning us this. Now, so this is, we have extracted. Now we want to exclude this AKS. How can we do that? Anyone? So we have this, I only want to extract this part.
We
So you have to
start
Anyone?
from
split.
backwards.
You have to split till numerical numbers come. Yeah.
Uh,
Start from backwards and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5,
5,
6.
6,
I think
7,
7.
7.
We have
Correct. So, who is saying that I should be splitting once again on the basis of this presence of this numerical characters. Note that here I am splitting, that's why at the rate of is being this excluded in the two items that I am ending up with. Okay. As you can see, at the rate of is not there. So if I split on the basis of some some numerical values, for example, if you consider say 1, it will be removing 1. But who is saying that we should be considering from backward 7 characters? That is the exact answer. So what we need to do is basically this. This is the way. So basically we know that the length of this part, I can use the len character, the len function to extract the len of this, or the length of this. It is 10. Now from this 10, I basically needs to I basically needs to start from the 0, 1, 2, 3, the third position up to the ending position. Right? Now we know that it is starting with 0, 1, 2, 3. Right? So basically length minus 7 from which we should be starting with. So basically what I need to do is, let's copy this and so again it will be length. So this is basically 10, right? Minus 7 and up to the end. So if I execute this, this statement will be returning the roll number. Now it might seem a little bit confusing, but if we look at it in a broken up way, then you can see that this is basically splitting up the whole thing in these two parts. Then 0 is basically considering the first part, which is this, only up to this at the rate of character. Then the second part from this third bracket to this third bracket, this is basically a splicing operator is there. As you can see, this colon. The first part of the splicing character, I am specifying basically the starting character from which the roll number is stored. Now note that if there is no middle name, then also if I just exclude the middle name, so the email is this, then also it will be considering, because in that case the length is 9. 9 minus 7 is 2. So that's why it will be starting from the second position, 0, 1, 2, right? And it will be going up to the end. And why end? I am ending up with 3, not this in, because I am applying this splicing on only this, applying this splicing operator or this splicing only on this first part. This second part is already excluded. Got it? Okay. So let's consider that we want to store the roll number, the email ID, together with the marks in chemistry, marks in physics, and marks in maths. If we want to store these information for a single student, we can simply declare 5 variables: email, roll, marks underscore chem, for example, marks underscore phy, marks underscore maths. So using these 5 variables, we can actually store the information for one user. Now, what if I want to store these informations like emails, roll, and all these marks for all the students who have already enrolled in this course? A simple idea, or up to the knowledge that we gained so far, the solution would be, in that case, we need to declare a variable for each of the email of the student, for all the students, For example, if there are 100 students, we need to declare 100 email variable, say email 1, email 2 up to email underscore 100, roll 1, roll 2 up to say roll 100, marks came 1, marks came 2 up to 100 and so on. So for 100 students, in this scenario, we need to declare 500 variables. Now, you may imagine how much hard it would be to manipulate all of them, and to compute some kind of operation like, say, computing the average marks achieved, I mean, average marks obtained in, say, chemistry, or say total marks obtained by all the students, or something like that. It would be too hard to manipulate all this or handle all those variables. So as a solution, we can use some kind of a collection data type, or formally they are known as the compound data type, to store all this similar information together. For example, say I'm referring to it as a collection. I don't know what collection is for the time being. So collection email will be containing all the email IDs of the student, of all the students. Collection roll will be containing the roll number of all the students, and so on. So this collection can be of many types: lists, tuples, sets, and dictionary. Each of them having a separate type of application associated with them. The beauty of this thing is it can store a mix of values. So first, let's discuss this, the list data type. Here, for this scenario, what I'm doing is I'm declaring 3 variables. Here, the first variable, earlier it was a simple string variable like this. Now it is a list of string variables. This is basically a list of strings. Why list? Because as you can see, a list will be initialized. The initialization of a list will be starting with this third bracket, and the individual items will be separated by comma. And here, the individual item is basically strings. As you can see, this string is inside this double quote, or the single quote, in starting and ending. Similarly, the roles are stored in another list, and the marks is basically stored in a list of lists. Basically, this is the marks of, say, chemistry, physics and maths for the student having roll number 19 RS 087. And this is the marks of the same subjects, chemistry, physics, mathematics, of the student having roll number 20 RS 025. And the corresponding email ID is this for the second student and this for the first student. This is lists. Now, formally, what is a list? A list is basically a sequence data type, or in other words, a compound data type, which is ordered and changeable. And it also allows items to be to be present as members in the list. That is, a list can contain multiple occurrence of the same member at different positions. Now, as I have highlighted here, ordered and changeable, that means the items that we will be putting into the list will be ordered based on their way of, or in following the order in which they are actually inserted into the list. And we can actually change the items that are stored at a particular position in the list. For example, let's look at a string, which is similar to a list. In formally, we can, not formally, but in a lame manner, we can say a string is basically a sequence or a list of characters. As you can see, here it is a string S1, which is containing a space string space in space Python. So essentially, this thing is stored in the string, and the individual items, or individual items in this case for this string, is basically the individual substrings, which is A space STRIN space IN and so on. Now, the corresponding thing in say list can also be like this: a string in Python. That is, we can store the individual words that are stored here in this string in the list as well. So to sum things up, this is a string which is stored in this manner. The corresponding list, if we want to store the individual characters stored in this list, in this string, in a list, it would look like this, where the individual items will be a single character, which are again substrings. Another way we can store is, we can store the individual words as individual items in this list as well. Now, there are mainly 5 operations associated with a list: creation of a list, inserting items in a list, accessing items in a list, changing items in a list, and deleting items from a list. Of course, these are interdependent. Like after creating, then only we can insert, and if we want to access an item in the list, that list should be already existing. There are some other which will be we will be working on, which we will be writing some programs on later on. First, let's discuss how to create a list. So in Python, a list is created by placing all items or elements inside a square bracket, and the individual items will be separated by comma. Okay, so a list can have any number of items. I mean, theoretically, it can contain infinite number of items. Each of them will be separated by this comma, and all of them together will be enclosed by this square bracket. And items can be of different type at the same time. Let's consider, say, prime, say A, so this is a list. How to check? So this type function, as you can see, it is returning list. That indicates that this prime is a list variable, or this prime is containing a list, which is basically storing a list. Now earlier, during the discussion of strings, as we have said, all the items should be of type string. All the individual items will be also of type string. But for list can contain a mixture of types. For example, here, this is a list, say player, Lionel Messi. This is the first item in this list. This is a string. This is an integer. This is a floating value. And this is again a string. So this is basically a list with mixed type of data type, mixed type of variables that are stored in this list. This is an empty list. That means this list is not containing any item. This is a list of, say, oops, sorry, I should be referring to it as vowels. Pardon for my wrong choice of words here. So here it is the name of the list is prime list, and the list is containing some numbers, and all of the numbers are integers in this case. Here, for this fifth example, this is a list where the individual items are also list. Now let's look at this with an example here practically. So as we can see, the type of this vowel is basically a list. Now we can also check the individual items, the type of the individual items as well. As you can see, this is referring to the first. So the type is str. And if I just want to print this, we will be getting A. So vowel 0 is A, 1 is E, 2 is I, 3 is O, 4 is U. We will be looking at how to access later on, maybe in the next class. In a more elaborative way, there are multiple ways of accessing them. One of the ways is using this index, which is similar to accessing the individual items stored in a string. Also, yeah, let's look at another thing, this empty list. Let's define A equals to this. So here A is a variable of type list, but it is containing no value. So that basically means that it is an empty list. So as you can see, the type of A is basically list. This is called an empty list. Now, after creating, so we have created, let's consider we have created this kind of an empty list, or by together with initializing together with creating the list, initializing the items as well. This is called creation as well as initialization. This is only creation. All these are creation as well as initialization. So basically we are creating as well as we are initializing the individual items in that list. So to insert an item, there are some functions which we'll be discussing. The first function is insert. Insert is a function which is defined as part of the list class. We can, the insert function takes two parameters. One is the position in which you want to insert, and second is the actual element that you want to insert in this position. Let's try that. Let's consider we have this vowel. Let's say we want to add some other other items in this vowels lists. What we need to do is say vowels dot insert. So as you can see, this is inserted in the first position, second, third, fourth, fifth. But note that the list numbering starts from 0. Now, those of you who already had written some programs in other languages, they already used array. So this is similar to array indexing or string indexing that we have discussed in the last class as well. So this is inserted in the 0th position, 1, 2, 3, 4. Now, if I want to add another item in the after U, what we need to do, we first need to specify the position 5 and then the corresponding item, say A. Now, if I print vowels, you can see A, E, I, O, U, A. Okay. Now, what if I want to insert an item, say, after, say, E? So, 0, 1, I want to insert the capital E after small e. Now, what we need to do is vowels dot insert. So, basically, I want to insert in the second position. So, basically, 2 and then E. And then, if I print the list, you can see A, E, I, O, U was the initial list. Then after inserting or after applying, after executing this command, after executing this statement, we are inserting E in the second position, and the existing item that was stored in the second position is shifted one place in the right. This is a way of initializing a list using, or not initializing, but inserting an item using insert function in a list. Another operation or another function using which we can insert an item in a list is called append. So append basically inserts an item at the end of an existing list. Note that insert and append, both of them works on an existing list. So let's consider we have this list. Now we want to insert or append or insert an item, say the capital I after capital A. What I need to do is vowels dot append. Earlier for insert, we need to provide the position as well. Here we just need to apply, or we just need to provide the item that I want to insert. And the position, the first parameter in case of insert, is actually considered as the last position here. You can see I has been inserted at the end. Okay. Any question up to this? So here note that this element can be of any type. Here all these items are basically of type strings, but it can also contain some values of type numerical, some numerical value or some compound data type as well. Acha, okay. Now let's try to say, let's take say 10 inputs from the user and put them in a list. Let's write a program to take 10 inputs from the user and put them in a list one by one. So let's declare say A as the empty list. Now for I in range, so let's write it down, the program statement. Write a program that takes 10 items from the user as input and put them in a list. So this is the list in which I will be putting them, all the inputs. I want to take 10 items, that's why I'm running this range from by default from 0 to. So as we know, this for loop will be getting executed 10 times from 0 to 9. Okay, now what I need to do is I need to take the individual items as input and I need to put them in this A. So what I can do is I equals to say input, enter say something, can be anything, and I need to put this I, basically I need to put the value that the user had given here, which is stored in I need to put I in A. Now there are two ways. One is using this insert. In that case, I need to provide A dot insert. Now first will be inserted in the 0th position, second will be inserted in the 1th position, and so on. So 0, 1, 2, 3, that is basically the value. Oh, sorry, should not be I, because this I and this I can be a conflict. So I should be providing enter something, say IP input. So basically I need to insert IP, the first IP in the 0th location, the second IP 1th position, and so on. Now this position is actually stored in this I. So A dot insert I comma IP will be basically inserting them in the list. Now for the time being, let's just minimize, let's just reduce the range here, just to save us some time. Otherwise I need to put 10 inputs one after the other. If I execute this, enter something, say I am giving say A 1, say B 2, C. Now if I print A here, you can see as input is considering all of the inputs as strings, all of these items are inserted one after the other. Okay, so this is by using insert function, right? Let's write the same thing using append function. Let's declare another list, empty list, for I in same in range 5. Say doing the same thing here, input, insert something, and then what I need to do is, what I can do is a b dot. Earlier I was inserting like a dot insert, then the position, then the item that I want to insert. I can use the append here as well, append IP, and enter something. Say if I put say QWERT, and if I print B, you can see they're inserted in this list. Okay, so there are so many things associated with this insert and append. For example, one thing I must show you here. So if I want to insert in this piece, say I want to insert capital Q, say in the 1th position after small q, what we can do is b dot insert 1 comma capital Q. As we know, this will be doing us the job, right? Also, if I want to say insert T at the end, say capital T at the end, what we can do is b dot append T. This is one way. Okay. Another way is b dot insert, and we need to provide the location, that is 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, basically 6th position, 6 comma T. Now, in this case, as you can see, I need to count how many items are there. A way of doing that is basically providing. So let's just comment this out. We know this will be working. So this is a very simple one. So I'm not discussing this one for the time being. So this will be inserting capital T here, right, at the end of this list. Now, what if in this case, as I have said, I need to count how many numbers, how many items are there in the existing list. What I can do is I can use this len function, which is also available in list. Now, if I print B, you can see this T has been inserted. Okay, what if, just to show you, what if I perform some operation like, say, what this will be doing? So I'm calling insert function to insert X in the 100th position. But as you can see, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 items are there in total from 0 to 6th location. What if I provide a location or position 100 to insert some item? So it will be basically inserted again at the end. As you can see, it is not inserted in the 100th location. It is basically inserted at the very end. So in case of this insert function, if the position, if the first parameter that is given is beyond the length, it will be inserted in the last position. Okay.
Sir.
Now let's create a list with continuous value. Yes, please, question.
So for that list, suppose the list is very long, okay, and I want to insert something. Suppose the list is long and I want to insert something after, suppose W is after 100 or 102, but I don't want to count where W is, suppose, in your list.
Right.
Then how will I, and I want to enter a letter after W, suppose, which I don't know where W is. Then without doing it manually, that counting where W is,
Good
without
question.
doing it manually.
Good question.
Can I do it using
So
program?
Yeah. So the question is, say let us consider we have a very long list, and I want to insert a new item after certain other item. For example, as you were saying, W. I don't know where W is actually. I want to insert a new item, say X, after W. If W is inserted, W is present in the nth location, I want to insert X in the n plus 1th location. So in that case, we need to search for W. We need to get the position in which it is stored. There are functions that will be discussed in the coming class. Don't worry. It's a very nice question that you asked. This will be discussed. Basically, there is a function called find using which we can do this.
Okay, sir.
Oh, another thing I must show you here. As you can see, here there are QQWERTTX. Now, if I say p dot append, say again I want to insert say Q. Now I have executed this twice. Executed this cell twice just to show you. If I execute this, you can see two Qs are inserted. Already there was a Q. There can be duplicate items that can be stored in the list. Why I am highlighting this duplicate thing? You will be seeing later on when we'll be discussing about set, another compound data type, which does not allow this kind of duplicate presence of an item. Now, what if I want to create a list of continuous values? One way of doing this, so let's consider that I want to initialize or declare a list having all the numbers from say 0 to 20. One way of doing this is, say again, we need to declare an empty list for I in range 20 no dot append I print no. As you can see, this is doing this job. What if I apply something like this also? Let's try that. So let's declare another list L equals to range 20. And if I print L here, what will we be ending up with? So this is, as you can see, the L is containing basically the range function that was invoked. But what I want to do is I want to do something similar to this. Use this kind of a for loop. But is there a better way, or is there a shorter way to do that? Actually, there is a shorter way. That is called argument unpacking. There is again this star operator as an associated meaning or associated application in this regard as well, which is basically this unpacking operation. So what we need to do is say L equals to range 20. So this was giving us this. What I need to put is I need to put them inside a square bracket, and I need to put this star here. This star will be basically will be working as the argument unpacking operator. If I execute this and then if I print the value of L here, you'll be seeing I'm ending up with the same output like this. So this is called argument unpacking. This is a shorthand way of doing something similar to this. An existing list can also be extended using this kind of, this directly calling this kind of a range as well. Let's look at this. So let's consider I want to extend them with the next 20 values, like from 20 to 39. What I can do is L dot extend. Here I can directly call range with, so I need to start from 20. I need to start at 39. So if I do this, you can see up to this, it was the I mean, it was already there. Now this thing is actually extending this existing list by this range. Now note that this extend function is taking this range, but earlier this range is not actually applicable in this case of initializing a list with some continuous values. But this extend function actually can take an input like this. So we will be ending today's class with some example. So let's generate a list of random numbers and put them in a list. So it's a very easy program. I hope you will be able to write yourself as well. Let's, for the time being, let's write that quickly. Import random. Say I want to make a list. Say L again. I want to initialize the list with 10 randomly generated numbers, say integers. So L dot append random dot randint, and I want to make the randomly generated number from say 0 to say 100. Print L. Oops, sorry. So as you can see, this is a randomly generated list. If I execute it once again, you can see different outputs are achieved or obtained. So now the last example that I'll be talking about today is generate the roll number for all the research scholars at ISAR Kolkata enrolled in say 2020. So the pattern will be 20 RS, then the number. So basically what we need to do is we need to define, so you can consider this as the common thing, 20 RS. So we can consider this as, we can store this as a variable in say pre, or say, that's okay, say pre 20 RS. And then let's consider in 2020 there were say 200 or say 100 new students will be, there are provision of giving admission to say 100 students in 2020. What we need to do is I need to generate all the roll numbers. Okay, for how we can do that? For I in range say 100, what I need to do is, okay, I also need to do, I'm going to declare one empty list which will be containing all the roll numbers. Now roles will be appended with pre plus, basically, now wait a second. Now this if I just insert stri, now I'm not actually, let's look at the errors as well. As you can see, there is an error. Why? Because this I here is an integer, but it is expecting a string. What I need to do is I need to put them inside this str function. Then if I print roles, be an unexpected output. Okay, so it is starting from 0. Let's just start from 1. So you can see the obtained results are 20 RS1, 20 RS2, but the format is like this. There should be 3 characters or 3 numbers. So how can we do that? How can we kind of make this, or make this 1 into 001? So I will request you to study that at your end to make the exact format like this, NUM.
So we can
Whatever
use
the
extend.
sorry,
We can use extend.
we can use extend. How?
Like if we basically,
No,
oh no, it
no,
won't work.
no. B is basically containing this 20 RS, And we are generating these values from 1 to 100, basically 1 to 99 in this case. And we are just converting this into string and we are appending it. So it is 1, 2, 3, then 1, 0, then 1, 1, but the format is like this, 3 characters. So how to make that in a string? Small task for you to look up, to try to do this at your end. Okay, it's a very small task. Try, I mean, experimenting at your end. There are again multiple ways of doing that. Thanks a lot. That's it for today's class.